What's happening, party people? Welcome to this week hanging out with Robert. Man, this video started out with me in Chicago. I worked about a day and needed some parts, seen things wasn't going to work out the way I had hoped they would, and maybe worked another half day. Then I went back home to Cincinnati to do a sleep study. Didn't really do much filming on that, but I gathered some parts I needed, took care of a couple things, then went back and got back at that manual conversion on this. I guess it's a silver gray 850 T5. I thought I was going to do that thing in 24 hours, but with some rust and a lot of maintenance need to be done, that thing turned into a project. So it turned into a resto mod. So we did a lot of work on that thing. This video shows, man, I don't even think it has half of it, but we'll show you the other half in next week's video. So other than that, oh man, we first run on the stickers didn't come out the way we wanted them to, and that's what happened when you farm stuff out. But anyway, we got the other stickers in. A couple people have them in their possession now. You can get these off of my website, robertdiy.com, if you want to support me like that. Put them on your toolbox, your shadow board, your vehicle windshield, something like that. I also still have a lot of these stickers, and these are, my little, I call it fun high mileage stickers, and this one is the distance to the moon. So if your car has at least that much, those are free on my website. I'll just stick them in an envelope and mail them to you if you want one. A lot of people don't know those are still there. I have different increments of those high mileage stickers. So there's a couple things on there. Now, if you're ever on my website and you need something critical for your car to function and you just strapped, man, you can't afford it, send me a message. Let me know. I'll be glad to, if I can afford to, take the price down to nothing on that thing so you can get your car running. I'm not 100% here to make money. I got bills and stuff to pay too, but I'm also here to help people that need help. The cheapest help that I got is watching those videos and fixing things yourself instead of paying a mechanic to do it. Then I help people by traveling around and doing things at wholesale prices for them. And man, just getting together, having fun. Life should have some fun in it. So up here, headed to Springfield, Missouri here tomorrow, then out to Lincoln, Nebraska, hopefully a day or two after that. I should be there sometime Wednesday in the Lincoln, Nebraska area. So I'm just taking it one day at a time. I appreciate your support. Go to my website if you need something. Send me a text, give me a call, then email, then some of these other social media interactive ways of doing things. So let me get going. Thanks for watching. Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert. That's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Folks, we are here, Nita and I. She's writing some numbers down, I don't know. We're about to do another manual swap. This is actually manual swap number. If you think I was going to give you that number, you must be up pretty late at night, because I don't even know. I told somebody last night, I don't count my pain. No, I really enjoy it, but I just never thought it was necessary to count. I can tell you what, how many I think it is. It's more than 2, less than 100. So there you have it. You got the numbers that you were looking for. So we're going to do this as an 850 turbo 95 model. The people have a bad automatic transmission. The guy that owns the car, his daughter actually drives it the most, and she's excited about learning how to drive a manual transmission. So we're going to do it. I ordered a box tune for it. The box tune is going to be tuned to the stock PSI, about 9.5 PSI. We're going to put a NA clutch in it to see if this thing can handle the torque. Now, I went to move the car a couple weeks ago, and I floored it to try to get it up on ramps because the transmission was slipping, and the throttle cable got stuck. So these folks are not aggressive drivers. I hope this NA clutch will hold. We're going to find out. These are the people who have agreed to be the guinea pigs for this. If the car has stock performance, no performance upgrades, can it hold on a NA clutch? And I think it can. The NAs are kind of peppy, but we'll find out. If it don't, I agreed to pull this transmission and do what we need to do. So there you have it. We're going to get into this manual swap. Little fuel tank clamp is starting to rust through, and because there is no evidence of braking on this side of this caliper, this right rear caliper is seized. Needs to be replaced. As feared, these parking brake parts are missing. People got them. I'm gonna need them. I got a couple, but I don't have all of them. With some heat, I was able to get these parts out, and I noticed this Delta Link is, man, that Delta Link is done. A lot of hacked up stuff in here, but not a real big deal. You may want to replace this Delta Link. The head of the screw broke off on the e-brake cable thing, so I need to try to get that out with the stem that's left. It's going to take heat and vice grips. We are moving right along. We got some of the stuff done up here. Starter out, some of the intake tubing out, bolts off, wire harnesses loose, hydraulic lines loose off of the transmission. We got the fan out and a few other things discovered. The strut mount was totally blown out over there. Now we're working on the lower part and getting the axles out, taking the control arm loose. I'm gonna drop the subframe with the anti-sway bar and the end links on. So I got to remember when I put this back up to put that end link in between the tie rod ends and the control arm. One time I didn't remember that, but we're just going to keep moving and see where we end up. Well, folks, here it is, the automatic transmission that has done its deed for 30 years. That's the rear main seal. It is moist, so I'm going to recommend replacing it. If it's dry as a bone, I mean, it's got to be dry as a bone, I'll leave it alone. But if it's showing moisture with dirt accumulation around it, I say replace it. Looks like that coolant line is ready for replacement too. This coolant line is ready for replacement. It's just that time on most of these coolant lines and stuff, so let's go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. Come back, maybe do a little more tomorrow on the inside. Kicking off the Tinker Day. Man, I kicked this day off. Man, I thought I'd be in Chicago by now. And look where I'm at. Half stack jacks. I'm gonna go to Columbus and try to help Noah. I was getting ready to leave and I remembered that there was something loose under Pepper. Looked under there yesterday at a gas station. I pulled into a gas station. I heard something scrape the ground. I thought my exhaust was falling apart. And I looked under there. The passenger side of the anti-sway bar was totally loose and sagging down. Now that's got two bolts in there that are normally pretty tight. I don't know why somebody would have those loose, first of all. And secondly, one bolt was totally missing. The other bolt was missing the nut. So that thing just popped off and was hanging and playing music down there twanging. So I got that squared away. And there's two people have contacted me for 99 ECUs. And I think there's two Volvos out here with ECUs that are 99. So I'm gonna check the numbers on them, see if they match. If they do, I'm gonna pull these two ECUs and ship them wherever these people want them shipped at, so they can hopefully get these cars on the road. I hate to say it, but man, it'd be hard for me to own a 99. Those cars are just test cars. 99 is the first year of that network computer stuff, and that makes it hard. So let's see if I can find these two computers out here. Now, one might be in this C70 coupe. That thing still got a good fog light on it. Let me try if I can figure out what year of car this is. Ah, it's a 02. It's probably not the right one. So let me go check this 99 and see about that. Man, that thing still has a good dash pad with that nice stereo system in it. That might not be a bad grab. Climate control looks good. Steering wheel looks decent. Car got some decent stuff in it. Do. Seats are dried out though. I don't see that button on it for having that awesome dying audio system. Nope, it don't have subs. Anyway, let's see if this other car still has an ECU. Oh man, I think that car was right here. Shoot, the car is gone. Ouch. Well, that hurts. So much for that. Let me get out of here. Go find something else to do. Man, that's always dangerous when these curb stops are a little high. Stopped and got food from the chicken salad chick because I figured it'd be healthy. And man, they got bacon on this thing. I hope there's enough chicken salad. I'll let you know. I'm about to grub and give some feedback. Back here with Noah's Ride, we're going to try to take care of a few things. One, we got a rear engine mount. Two, we're going to check out the climate control. I brought my scanner to see what's going on with that. Number three, we have something going on with the windshield washer. We're going to check that out. And a couple other things. I'll mention them as I go along. We did a headliner on this a couple weeks ago. And we did a manual swap about 6 months ago. So let's get started. Well, I got a couple of lights on here with the switch in the off position. I got tail lights, then it's in reverse. I got reverse lights. And then I got these driving lights on here. I don't want no lights on because I'm be draining battery. So let me see what this does. Well, look like it turned on more lights. Yep, still got all those on. And still got all these on. So I got to be careful I don't drain the battery on this thing. It says there's 3 codes in the ECC system. Air distribution, switch control, faulty signal, 145. In-car temp sensor blower, driver's side, operation inhibited. That means there may be dirt in there, but I think we cleaned that out. So that may just need the code to be clear. In-car passenger side temp sensor. So I think we took care of those 2 things. Let's go back and clear these codes and see if anything comes back. After it does that, it says they have been erased. I'm going to take these to these settings here. I'm getting a flashy thing. That should mean I'm getting a code. So let's read codes. 1 code. Temp sensor, passenger side. So it's saying that thing up there is messed up. Let's see if we could function the system. I'm gonna start the car and run it through to motions and see what I get. Definitely have some flow up top here. I'm gonna switch it to the bottom and see if that flow goes away. And the flow went away. Let's turn it back. See if the flow comes back. Yeah, see it's shaking. It's back a little bit. Let's take it all the way to the top. Heard the AC kick on and it's blowing good to the top. So I don't feel it no more down at the feet. Don't feel it at the front vent. AC cuts on automatically when you take it to defrost. So let's take it to the face vent, and you see that dropped. I got good flow through the face vent. I'm gonna take it full cold both sides. And I feel like it's cold with both sides. I don't want to heat this car up too much, but it's heating up fast. Take this to the heat. See if I can heat both sides. Not yet. I got heat on passenger side. Yeah, I got heat on the driver's side. Yeah, I got heat both sides. Let me take this back down to cool temperatures. Yeah, I got cool temperatures both sides. So I think the unit is working pretty good now. I cleared those codes. So hopefully that's everything he needed. Let's see what codes that come back. The code cleared and stayed clear until I activated the system. So check one more time, see what come back. Oh, failed. Because I started the car, I jumped the circuit. I think the compressor is a little low on refrigerant. It's cycling out there. I still hear it cycling even though I got the switch off. Not sure what's going on with that. Oh, let me recycle. That's it, the only code to come back. This passenger side fan sensor. So my guess is that thing is dirty. I should make sure it's plugged in. I don't think I unplugged it, but heck, who knows. One of the things we came to check out was the boost gauge. So when the car's running, that should drop. If it don't, we got to find out where the boost leak is. Boost gauge does nothing with the car running, so let's see if we can find this boost leak. Pop the hood, look for it loose. And here it is, as easy as it gets. However, this little line is like rotted out. So you can see the coating crumbling. Let me see if I got some small enough boost hose with me to connect that. Grabbed vacuum tubing that only had the big stuff. So let me see if I can find something small. Maybe I have a small piece in my box or something. On this video, I'm going to replace the rear engine mount. This is the mount that sits on the firewall side of the engine. This is it here. You either have to jack the engine up enough to get this thing out of the steering rack after you loosen that bolt and that bolt, or drop the subframe. You can also remove the bracket that this thing sits on from the side of the transmission. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it now, but the easiest way is the route I'm gonna go. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take a 15mm swivel socket with a long extension and go down over top of the thing here, and you'll see that bolt right on the other side of this wastegate actuator. Doesn't look like it wants to focus in on anything worth it, darn. Way down there. So that's the bolt we're trying to hit. Get that out with a 15mm. The turbo tube is in the way. definitely the clamp is. So I'm gonna loosen the clamp, let that clamp drop out of the way, and then I'm gonna try to put this tool on there again. I couldn't get it on there just now. All right, I got that 15 off of there. I did loosen that clamp. Now I'm gonna jack the car, put jack stands under it. Got a couple surprises here. One is an IPD belly pan under the car, which is good if you got a lower car. However, the transmission seems to be resting on it. There, and especially there. That transmission is eating into this pan. So if you have one of these IPD pans, we got the bump stop there. So it's not because there's no bump stop, but if you got an M56, you may want to modify this pan or cut a couple of pieces out of it so that your transmission's not eating into it or whatever's going on. That can't be good. However, besides that, I'm going to have to lower this to get at this mount. I don't think this mount will go through that pan and let me install it. The mount's probably too big. Yeah. So I got to drop this pan to get this in or whatever, because this is the way in between the engine and the subframe. Well, I was able to maneuver this up here, right through here, close to this oil pan drain bolt, and I used a jack stand neck, put it on the bracket that holds that rear mount, and then I jacked it up until I think the rear mount is high enough for me to wiggle it out of there. So let me try to wiggle it out of there and see if I could wiggle the good one in there. Nope, not yet. Try to go a little higher. Man, it looks like it could already come out of there, but I guess not. I don't know if I could go any higher than that. So let me try to wiggle that thing out of there again. Let me get my pry bar, see if prying it around will get it out of there. Because it seems like it should come out of there. And you can see it's torn. So let me try to get it out of there with my pry bar. So I removed the IPD pan and took the bolts out of the torque mount. Made sure the torque mount was loose. Then I jacked it up enough to get that mount out. Now let's see if I could get the other one in. And I kind of suspect this hole here is not lined up perfect because I had a hard time getting that mount out of that hole, the screw hole. But let's see if we can get the new one in. If we can't, we're going to have to put a pad under this belly pan and put the jack under it and jack the engine up. Either that or under this transmission. And that's going to suck right now because I got the jack tied up with this contraption. So I hope this works for me. So I jacked the oil pan up with a pad under the jack until the car started coming up. Then I come down about 1/4 inch. Then I come over here and I take the heat shield nut off of there and remove the heat shield. There it is there. Then I take this nut out here, and then I get the nut on top of that bracket and loosen it a little bit so that I could pivot this bracket. Now that I can pivot that bracket, I could go ahead and put the mount in and the heat shield in and tighten this stuff back up. Do everything from underneath. Once you get the bracket and everything out, put that bolt in there. Have a bolt in there to line that hole up, and then jam this back up there and get you some bolts started. So I'm gonna try to hold 2 bolts in there, set it up there and get it started. The mount went in fine. I got the bolt in the back and torqued in. And look at there. Transmission is no longer resting on this pan. So that rear engine mount was part of the problem with just touching that pan. So just keep an eye on that. It's real close, but it shouldn't be touching. Next, we're going to check the cruise, check my text messages, make sure I am not missing anything, and wrap this up. Man, it took longer than I expected. Almost forgot to check the windshield washer sprayer, and that thing is leaking right here. So something ain't connected up under here, or a hose is split. Let me figure this out. So there's a T-fitting right here, and this T-fitting is split open. That's where his leak is. So he could probably handle that one. We are in here now, kicking off the Tinker Day, looking for my buddy John. Let's go down here, honey. There he is. John Ward, pulling it right. We are pulling in to Swedish Car Parts. Look at that awesome sign that Elizabeth had made for him. Whoop, whoop. Entering into the wonderful world. Oh, you gotta grab my key. Whoa, oh, uh-oh. What do I see here? A freshly manufactured 850R bumper. Gotta check this out. And as we walk through the warehouse, uh-oh, what are we working on today? A 940. There he is. Victory Auto Records.
1945, 2023.
They had a good run.
Yeah, they did.
And it's got the LSD back here, folks. That's the tag you want to see. Scan it.
Yeah, that's how I
Live it. Kicking off the tinker of the day with this turquoise 850. We got some door trim, a tail light. Going to do a transmission flush. A couple other things. She had a key lock cylinder go bad on her. We might work on that some other time, but let's go ahead and get this transmission fluid drained and filled and replace the spark plugs and go from there. Transmission fluid looking a lot better. This is what came out, and this is what a drop of new stuff looks like. So it's getting closer to pink, further away from brown. We'll try to do another one in a few days, and she'll be good to go. Let's move on to spark plugs. I think this air filter has been replaced, so I'm going to check that, and then we're going to replace the spark plugs. I only like Volvo plugs, that's just me. If you have a non-turbo car, these are what the Volvo plugs look like. Can't gap them, but they don't need to be, and they last a good long time. I think the change ratio may be 60,000 on them, but you make that call and check the owner's manual. And we're missing a battery clip, folks. Let me get Man, I don't know what people think. It ain't even set in here right. We'll test the battery here in a minute. And for some reason, somebody tried to glue the spark plug wires down in the engine. Why would somebody do that? Whoever did that, stop that. First time I seen proper spark plugs in here, the 3-prong like the Volvo ones. And I guess this is the company that makes those for Volvo, because they're like proper. Made in France. Put a little anti-seize lubrication on the screws for the spark plug dust cover. Just barely snug them down. They're good to go. Moving on to the next task. Folks, we are here to do a timing belt job on this 960. Look at here. We caught it sneaking through the cover. So, man, you can't be no more blessed than that. It cut that cover all the way around. Look at that thing coming out of there. I actually missed it. I didn't know it. I was testing the car for misfires. Was racing around the street around here through the parking area and through the little street in the apartment complex. Parked it, did a little video clip, posted it, and somebody said, "Hey, Robert, man, it looked like that belt coming through that cover." I was pulled up the video, shocked. Time to get this out of here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the fan, drain the coolant, and get this timing belt replaced after I set the timing. The crank is the most important timing mark. Get that going, and then make sure the rest of your marks are good. So it may have cut the timing marks off of this cover up here. That's gonna be fun. Let's see what happens. Another look at this belt path. This is the old belt path of the 850 belt as well. And another look at this timing belt coming through the cover. God have mercy on this guy. I heard something roll around down there. There it is. You got a little bearing down here that came out. So the tensioner roller seized up and come apart, probably from lack of lube. I hope I can get this timing set. See that tensioner roller moving? 206,000 miles, and see how old it is. 95 model, so 29 years old. Looks like a couple of these parts are original. This roller here, this water pump. This is a shame. Part of the cover that gets sliced off, that's the part that you use to reference the cam timing. Let's roll this engine and see if it will let us set the timing right. I got a mark here, and I got a mark here. So I'm gonna move that mark around here until I get this crank timing on, and then I'm gonna make a couple of marks for these cams. I don't know if it's gonna be right or not, but I gotta do my best to get it where it belongs. Guess what, folks? I am sure that this car jumped time. I'm not sure if it jumped it enough to make a difference, but this exhaust cam is at least a tooth or two off. So if you look down here, you'll see the mark right there on the crank pulley. That is aligned with a tooth, and this 960 only has one tooth on the timing mark to make it right. I can't get the shadow of my light to stop that. Let me put some other light on it. So I got one notch in the pulley at the tip of that one right there. I don't know if that's a mark somebody else made or just a lucky rust spot there, but that's aligned with the oil pump. And this intake cam appears to be aligned. The angle of the engine will put the point down on the bolt pattern, and this one is supposed to be up, so I know it's a tooth or two off. So let me go ahead and pull this cover, and when I put this belt back on, I'm gonna align the timing. I'm not gonna use any cam locking tools or nothing, but I just gotta know where it's supposed to go. This roller assembly comes off here. I'm gonna pull that off and show you guys what happens when your roller come apart and loosens up your timing. If this thing would have come the rest of the way off while this engine was running, this engine would be destroyed. Look at there. Get your timing belt serviced, people. Let me go ahead and show you how I adjust the timing on this thing. Get a long screwdriver like this. I put it in between a couple of these screws here, and I just turn it just a little bit like that. So that's probably going to be a good timing set for that. We'll set the belt across it, make sure it works. But if your crank is on the mark, you should be able to move these cams around like that. I'm having a hard time getting this T45 loose. One of the bits is getting stripped. Another one of the bits just popped out of it, and I don't want to strip it, so I'm gonna put a vice grip on it. I'm gonna try to put a cheater on there and turn that off. This thing is so tight, I cannot get this off. So we'll put some heat on the bolt. Maybe that'll loosen it up, which will probably melt this cover. that doesn't happen, I'm gonna have to cut the head of it off because I'm able to turn it with the vice grips, which normally gets it, but it's just not coming loose. And after the heat, I was able to break it loose. It's out. Time to start cleaning up the water pump area and going back together. Now you get a clear shot at that timing mark and how the 960 only has one slit in the crank pulley. I was trying to avoid using an aftermarket part on this tensioner. However, the 960 rollers are wider than the 850 rollers, so you have to use the ones for the 960. They have a wider belt. Rollers are almost a ½ inch wider. Green gasket, Volvo gaskets. All that thing came off except for that little chunk. Let me go cut that off, brush that up with a wire brush, and put this stuff back together. Get all the gasket off. Now I need to, oh, got a little piece left. Let me get that piece. Then I'll brush it with the wire brush. Run your finger around it, make sure it feels like a baby's bottom. Anytime you don't have one of the green Volvo gaskets, I believe those things swell, and you're going to use one of these. These may be fine to use and not leak. However, I don't think they swell like the green ones do. So use some of this water pump thermostat housing gasket maker, run a small smear of it around there, put it in place, then run a small smear around the mating surface of the pump, put it in place, tighten it on, and you should be leak free. And then when you need to remove this thing for the next service, you should be able to get it off because you use some of this gasket maker. If you don't use some of that gasket maker, that thing will be a couple hours just getting that material off of the block. And then I think this is as close as I'm gonna get to this timing being right. This intake cam I think was on, this exhaust cam was off. I had to turn it clockwise 2 teeth. I think it's on, but I don't have a cover piece to verify it. This was it. It got eaten through. And I just don't know how low that thing would sit if it was right. But I'm gonna go with that, figuring the cover cut through it, and that'll be about it. So we're gonna fly with that. Really, these two bolts being level with the head seam and these two bottom bolts being level with the head seam, that is what timing would be on. But you could put the locking tool on the back. I'm not going to take this stuff off the back to do that, so we're going to fly with this. And I'm going to pull a pin, roll it over a couple times, and see. I'm going to put a paint dot there and a paint dot here where the teeth should lay in the belt after I roll it around a couple times. So let me pull the hand grenade pin and put that spacer in there and go from there. I think I'm good. I rolled the crank around a couple of times. I'm about a ½ a tooth off there. The belt stayed on. It's not hanging off any of the rollers. And about a ½ a tooth, what I can imagine up there, and about a ½ a tooth off there. So let's go ahead and get this car back together. I'm gonna do the spark plugs and coil packs real quick too, since he has those part handy, and that was his issue mainly with the misfiring. Got that timing belt spacer thing in there. We got the covers on, even though this one's cut. Got the serpentine belt on, got all these bolts torqued. Got this fan back on, got the ground wire on it. Put that light cover back on. Got the fan plugged in, got the reservoir maxed out. I'm gonna go ahead and start the car. I got all the coils and spark plugs replaced. Make sure this thing runs good. And he got a new timing belt cover. I didn't realize that. I was looking in the trunk for a serpentine belt and seeing this new timing belt cover, and now I realize the serpentine belt was in good shape, not that old. So let's go ahead and start it up. Make sure it runs, make sure it doesn't leak, Then we'll dispose of the old coolant and put this timing belt cover on here and get out of here. We've disconnected the battery, so we should be good to go. Contact. Woo, listen to it purr. Need to clear that check engine light, get some gas in the car. Let me scan that. Codes, probably from when they had those aftermarket coils in there. 301, 303, 306, 302, 300, 304. That's it. So let's clear these things. Code's clear. No check engine light. He might have to pass emissions. But man, he's even got a good charging system on here. Let's let this run a little bit, see if it burps, and then we'll try to top it off. He's got other things need to be done on this 960, like this center trim rotted away, all busted up. I just don't have it scheduled to do all that this time. His door latches are sticking and getting stuck, and his handles getting stuck out here. I'm gonna try to spray some WD-40 on that, see if that helps that, and he should be able to get around. Let's see if it's leaking and the belt's tracking straight. Belt is tracking straight. Let's see any evidence of leak. Sounds like he got a little exhaust leak. Nothing dripping under it. We are good to go, folks. Look like they got the wrong timing belt cover. We'll see if it fits. Look like it should, but it ain't the right one. This one looks like it's made for some big hub, but this car doesn't have that, so it doesn't need it. Let's check it out. Well, folks, here we are. Man, we got a lot of parts and a lot of car torn apart here. The only two parts we don't have that I need, that I know of, and one is the spring seat that's busted on the driver's side. I got to get one of those tomorrow. The other one is the brackets on top of the transmission. When I looked at this transmission, I realized those brackets were missing, and those are unique to P80s. If you use those brackets from another model of Volvo, your shifter won't rest right and you'll have a mess on your hands. So we need that. It's 4:30, getting a late start. I'm just gonna start hacking away at one thing at a time, and I don't think we need to pull a dash, so I'm gonna start with this firewall mount up here and just start working on things one at a time, getting these parts squared away so that I can have this all done and wrapped up and take care of some more stuff tomorrow. So let me get started. I'm gonna do this firewall mount first. Let me show you what that part looks like. This is it. It attaches up there. You got to take this cowl off to get at it. So let me go ahead and take that apart and put this mount in and go from there. So much for that train of thought. The corner of the engine support bar is on this firewall cowl, and that will stop me from getting to that mount, I believe. So I'm going to pass on that and move on to the next thing. Let me see if I can pry that up with my pry bar. I don't want to damage anything, but let me see how that works. Gotti, totally torn out. Oh, ain't trying to break a headlight, but let's get the new one installed on that bracket and go from there. When I started the car, for whatever reason, it didn't seem like it had a lot of juice. I'm gonna test the battery, 760 cold cranking amps, to see if it's in good shape. It just seems weak. So we're gonna put it on the charger if it's weak. It says the health is 4% and the charge is 55%. It needs to be replaced. We're gonna put it on the charger for a day, see if that helps it. I brought my charger because of that. Got this all cleaned out. I got that mounted in. I got that bolt a little loose so I can tighten it in its resting position. I replaced this front engine mount down here because the other one was on its way out, probably 50% on its way out. Next, I'm going to get that transmission out of the way, and I'm going to pull that rear main seal and replace that. Here's the rear main seal, about to install that up here. Let me get with it. Didn't notice it at first, but this front mount is trashed. When they're busted open like that, they need to be replaced. See if I can find one tomorrow. Got the clutch kit installed. Since there is no manual pilot bearing in this car, the disc holder didn't hold itself centered. I had to kind of center it myself and tighten a couple of the disc bolts down and held it in place. But there is a manual pilot bearing, not necessary for the function of the transmission, but it is necessary to get this alignment tool to work properly. And somebody put a screw in the single mass flywheel that was not the proper length, but I had another one with me, so I put the proper bolts in there. They're not as long as the bolts that hold the master cylinder in. Let me check this aft mount, see if it's any good. Kicking off the day, we are back at it. I think I'm gonna do the inside before I finish up the outside. Give me a little bit more room to put my cables in and stuff like that before I hang this transmission. So let me tear apart the inside, which will include parking brakes. So I'm not sure if I get this transmission hung or not. Let's get cracking. Got some traction going on. We got the cables in, the shifter in, this panel back on, steering knuckle hooked back up, and the pedal has that little clip on it. We got the brake switch adjusted, cruise switch on. We're good to go. All we got to do now is put the carpet back, and we're done with this side. And we're moving on to the parking brakes. Looking for a jack. I can't remember what I was using for a jack, so while I process that in my head, I'm gonna check this battery that was sitting on the charger for 24 hours. When I hooked it up, it said 13.4. Now it's dropped to 12.8. It's dropping quick. All right, now. Cold cranking amps, 760. See if it gives us some good numbers this time. Yesterday it was 8% over 100%. That's unacceptable. 9% over 100%. There ain't no way I would trust this battery to go anywhere. It's got 228 cold cranking amps instead of 760 cold cranking amps. Let me test his other battery. Here's his other battery with 650 cold cranking amps, dated the 7th month of 2018. This thing's probably bad too. That's old for a battery. 11.77 volts. Oops. $650. Power too low to continue. Continue anyway. We'll put this on the charger for a couple hours and see how it fares out. 0, 0. Folks, we're gonna replace this end-link. This thing looks destroyed. And I was gifted this thing from Gilbert Diaz up here in the Chicago area. He met me up at the shop, and man, it gifted me with this, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it to replace this end-link. So I jacked the car up. I removed the wheel primarily because it's a little in the way, and I got to do the parking brake system anyway. And then I put the jack stand under the pinch wheel under the car. So put it under there. Next, I'm gonna pull that big bolt out there, and then I'm gonna pull this bolt off here. And then I'm going to pull these 3 bolts off here so this thing could sag down and this bracket can be out of the way. Normally, the parking brake cables attached to it at that hole right there, but I'm replacing those, so I already removed that. 18 millimeter, I think these are 17s. I removed this bolt, then I turned it back on until the nut was about even with the threads. I hit it with a sledgehammer a couple times to get it to come up on this side. Then I turned it down a little bit more. Couple threads, hit it up some more, trying to get it to pop loose, and it finally popped loose. Then you can remove the bolt all the way and reach up here and pull this out. So that's one of those bolts that is kind of pressed into the upper thing so that it doesn't turn. Then I pulled this bolt out, it came right out. Now I'm gonna pull these 3/17s and let this all sag down a little bit. I got everything removed. You can see rust has gotten its best out of some of this stuff, including that fuel filter bracket. Looked like somebody's replaced that fuel filter once before and got that thing twisted. That needs to be replaced again. But the bad part about it is this thing is stuck to the car. It would have fell down if it wasn't. So I'm gonna hit it a couple times with this 3-pound sledge. If it doesn't come down, I'm gonna pry it. After about 4 or 5 hits, I'm not gonna wear out my ears doing that. Put some ear protection on. I gotta clip those lines back in there. Somebody's been in there messing with that. Brake lines and ABS wires and stuff are unclipped. But if that doesn't come down with a couple of hits, I'm gonna put a pry bar in there. If it don't pry down, I'm gonna put some heat on it. It's a tough job sometime in the rust belt. And here's a little glimpse of what happens when you have a brake caliper that a piston sees. So you got a good brake pad and a bad brake pad. We're gonna replace those here in a little bit. So I've been melting some of the rubber with my torch, and it's seems like it's at a stuck point where there's a ball, and there may be a couple layers of metal and rubber in there that I don't know how that thing's put together, but the post is rusted on there. And so far, I can't get it off. I've been heating this thing up, and as you can see right here, this is all the fuel stuff. You gotta try not to catch none of that on fire. And you can see the rubber burned out there. We do have a fire extinguisher handy, and I am using my protective glasses. And this is the rubber that's being burnt away. This is the metal sleeve that's stuck against the post. Now, one time I had this situation like this. Wasn't on this big link here, but it was on the subframe deal where that subframe thing was. I started slicing the post off until I got to a point, well, the bolt was actually broke off in there too, where I could get a hold of the bolt and unscrew the bolt. Because the bolt was rusted. A bolt that was supposed to be like a 1/2 inch was rusted down to 1/4 of an inch, and it snapped off when I went to pull it. Well, fortunate for me, this bolt came out, but the post is rusted on there. Now, I had this happen to a front subframe, and I had to get the subframe off. Then I put a pipe wrench on there, heated it up, and turned the sleeve of the mount off of the post. Saved the post in that situation. Trying to save the post here. What I'm about to do now is put my Sawzall on here and slice through this first layer of metal on this post. I dare not touch it because it's probably still 200 degrees. Cut through that, pry it open a little bit, see if that will let that drop down, and then eat the rubber off of it, and then hopefully the pipe wrench on it to twist the pipe wrench to get that post off. It's been PB blastered, or we're using liquid wrench and heat, a lot of heat, and we're still where we are right now. So I'm gonna keep working at it because I'm at the point of no return. And actually, once I get a part, I'm at the point of no return. It's not gonna beat me. It's just a matter of how long the fight's gonna last, how many rounds. So let's stay at it. I've been beating at that with a cold chisel, but it's just like the rust has got it welded on. So let me try to get this link to fall down where I can work at the post. We have heated and beat it all we could. It's Sawzall time. So let me get my Sawzall and see what angle I can hit this thing at. Try to get this where I can get it off. Well, my Sawzall was very limited on space being on the ground. So I took my oscillating tool I call Wani and cut through the first layer and then through the second layer. Then I cut through the first layer of steel up there. Now I pried this open. Now I'm going to try to pry this down again with a pry bar. If that doesn't work, I'm going to heat it up and then try to pry it down. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to cut through that second layer of metal and try again. Pried it for a couple minutes. Finally got it to break through on that first layer of rubber. Being careful not to damage any fuel lines or anything up there. Alright, it's loose. Let me hold it down and get that next layer off and then work on getting that post off. So I got this sleeve off of it and I'm left with this ball on the post. This ball is part of the mount. So I'm gonna have to pry this down, put something in there to pry this down out of the way. Hopefully the tools still have enough to get this off or I'm gonna be in trouble. I'm gonna have to melt this thing to pull it out. Then I'm gonna put a pipe wrench on there and try to twist this to get it to come off with some PP blaster and some heat and leave the post there. The goal is to have the post there so when you put the new mount up there, it has something to use as a guide. And I'm not sure how far the threads is in this thing, but the threads are all the way up inside the car. I don't think I've damaged them. No, they seem to be good. So the threads are that far up into the car. So let me go ahead and find something to pry and put in here and then get my pipe wrench, put some heat on there, some PB blaster, and try to twist this off with the pipe wrench. So here we are. I got something wedged in there, not as low as I wanted, so I might get something else, wedge it in here so I can put some heat on this, some more PB blaster on it, and use my pipe wrench to put on there and try to twist it off of there. So hopefully that'll work without doing any damage to the car. I don't think I want to cut into this with my oscillating saw, but I might have to. We'll see. Got to get this post off of the post that's naturally behind there. Here we are. We're going to rename my channel to Rust Belt Wrenching. I got that set in there. I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, spray it, pipe wrench it, try to move it, heat it, move it again. It's not the best angle, but it's better than no angle. I'm about to put this pipe wrench on there. I sprayed up there a little bit with some PB blaster. Let's see if this thing will turn. Oh, it's turning. Oh, yeah. I don't know how we're going to get it down, but it is turning. All right, so we got it turning up. Let's get easier. I'll try to push down and turn. Alright, so I'm gonna try to beat it down. Cold chisel or something. See if we can get it to move down a little. Well, actually, can't find my cold chisel, but I'm gonna tap it down with this hammer and this thing here. Where's my sledgehammer, folks? Here it is. I'm gonna keep working it like that, turn a little bit, working it, see if I get it to come down until I can pry something up here and turn it and pry. Well, I can get this in there right now and try that. So let me try that, turn and pry. Do 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 do. Prying a little bit and turn it. Gotta find another pry point. Alright, you get the point. Let me keep turning and prying. See if I can get it off. There it is, folks. Posts look almost brand new. I finally was able, I mean, it wouldn't twist off and pry down while I twisted. So I took my big pry bar, put it on the edge of that piece that was on there, leaned it up like that, and hammered down on it. And after about 4 hammers, it finally popped off. So we got the mount off of the car. Now for the second half is to get the mount out. Then we'll be half done. That's officially the first quarter done. Now to get the second quarter done, hopefully that tool will be able to pry this out of here with this chunk missing. So we're going to go for the second quarter, and then third quarter will be pressing that new one in, and then the fourth quarter will be attaching it back to the car. That thing's going to have a lot of grease on it when I attach it back to the car. I promise you that. Well, this looks like the official Volvo tool. It came out of a Volvo tool box. Got a Volvo tool part number on it. And it is not quite lining up to fall in those holes. So I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to try again. I'm going to roll this down, try to get it in tighter and see if I can get that in these holes. But I'm not in these holes. But I'm still got to try to get this out of here. So let me see what happens. Looks like I'm pressed up as high as it can, and where that thing will start pulling that out. So let me start cranking it. It's hitting right there. I can't get nothing through there, piece of paper or nothing, but it's not in far enough this way to drop this in these holes. So let's see if it works. If not, I'm gonna heat this up till this plastic starts melting and then pull it out that way. I'm cranking it, and it is coming out slowly but surely. I'll see how long it takes for this thing to come out. But nothing's happening fast. Let me keep working that. Couldn't get the bushing to start coming out, probably because it wasn't locked in properly. Just not sitting right in there. So I heated the arm up until it started melting the rubber, as you can see. Then I put the tool on there while the stuff was hot and got it to pry it out. And I'm at the end, still hadn't fallen out. So hopefully I'll take the tool off of it and it'll just pull the rest of the way out. Then I could work on getting that plastic out of there, rubber out of there, and be done with this thing. Coming out. Be halftime, baby. Halftime. Can you imagine? Time. We got it out, folks. Let me tell you how long it took. And it looks like, other than that little dent in it right here, I might try to beat out, it's ready for the new one. Maybe lubricate it. And the time is 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Can't believe it.
And we got a melted rollover valve. Still think I need to replace this fuel filter. Let me get one to replace that while I'm under here. Find something to treat this rust. If you made it this far, I trust that you found some information that was either useful or entertaining. So go ahead and hit the like button. And if you would like notification of future videos that I post, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. You can follow me on other social media apps by looking for @RobertDIY. Some form of that should bring up the other channels that I have on places like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. If for some reason you need some more personal help, go to my website at robertdiy.com and use the phone number that I have posted there to send me a text message, or you can email me. If you have questions or comments, please make a comment below. And if you'd like to make some kind of financial contribution to what I got going on here, go to my channel and hit the more link at the end of the introduction statement, and it'll show you different ways that you can support me financially. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.